Welcome back in, y'all. We are Black Girls Talking TV, where we bring the group chat to life and discuss your favorite TV shows. Today is all about the new series Forever on Netflix. So if you haven't watched it, save this video and come back in once you have completed it because it's spoilers all through this thing, up and down. All right. And we are so happy to have Chi Chi here with us. She is our resident marriage and family therapist. So she's going to have so much to add here today. I am Victoria. I am a psychologist out of New York and Illinois.
I'm Kamaria. I'm an attorney in the DC area and a pop culture writer.
I'm Chi Chi. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in Virginia and relationship coach. I'm so happy to be back.
Yay! I know. I was like, we had to take a moment and
Yes.
was back together.
Right. The stars have aligned for
I
forever.
know, right? Yeah. I'm like, we haven't
Yeah.
recorded together since what? I don't know. Love is Blind.
Love is blind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Love is
Probably
Blind.
Love is Blind February.
Yeah.
But we've been holding
Yeah.
it down. We've been holding it down, me and Victoria. So we're so excited to have you back. But yeah, and especially for this show, like Forever is a love story, and you are a love and family, marriage family therapist, so it's just like right up your alley. But I loved it. Like initial thoughts, like what are we thinking? Did you love it or did you love it? Like for me, there's only one option.
I loved it. I I felt like I wanted this when I was a teenager, right? I wanted to have like I needed this show to exist when I was a teenager, but I loved it just as much as an adult. It was such a beautiful love story, a beautiful depiction of family, of how, like community. There were just so many beautiful storylines happening. I loved it. So I'm with you. Either you loved it or you loved it. I don't think there's any other
I
option.
know, right?
Yeah. Agreed. Absolutely. It was a beautiful love story. The unfolding of everything was nice. The development of all the characters was nice. I love how for this to be a black series, like we didn't fall too much into stereotypes. I love that, right? Like the typical ones that you usually see. Yeah, it gave us a very wide range of blackness. And so I
Mhm.
really enjoyed that. 10 out of 10 for me. I hope they pick up season 2 right where they left off with season 1. I don't want
Mhm.
no homecoming and Howard. I want it to start right where we
Right,
left off, okay? I
right.
need a Keisha come back, okay? Like,
Right. I agree. I don't want to miss a second of it. And I want them to like whenever they wrap up this series, they gotta be together. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just forever. They gotta be together.
yes.
I am here for the love story. I think that like I posted on our page how like I actually watched episode 5 first. Like not the whole episode, but like the first 20 minutes, thinking it was the beginning. And I was like, so I saw the father-son conversation with Woody Harris's character and Justin. And I was like, oh my God, this series is so beautiful. I was like, the way they were capturing everything. But even when I went back to the beginning and watched it, I still was like, this is beautiful. Like, they have just
Yeah.
captured a lot of beautiful things in like just simple moments. It's a very simple love story, but it's nice and they've been very authentic, I think, to the black experience. So I loved it overall. Do you guys have any favorite parts? I'll start.
Ooh.
That father son,
Okay.
that father son talk. Like Woody Harris was, I was like, okay, Woody. He was doing it for me. I loved his representation as a black father and like just making sure that at certain points it's like that's what daddies are there for. Like fathers are there to like push the kids out and be like, go play. It's okay to get hurt and da 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 da. And moms are like, not my baby. And so I feel like he showed that balance and why that was important because like he do gotta get hurt. He does have to get into like learning himself a little bit, and it's not going to be by just running away from conflict. So I enjoyed the father son dynamic that was brought in, especially from Woody Harris's side.
Yeah. It's hard for me to pick a specific favorite part, But I know that first initial conversation, father son conversation, is where I was hooked into the series. Like before they went to the party, I literally paused and was like, I text my boyfriend. I said, I think we're gonna really like this show. Like we should watch it together. And so I paused it there, and then I ended up going back and watching it. But yeah, I know that was a part right there. I was like, okay, this it might be cheesy, it might be a little teeny bopper, but this might be something right here. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, outside of that, I can't figure like I can't point to like a very like I guess a favorite part. I don't know. I love the whole thing. It had me all over the place a little bit. So
Mhm.
yeah,
My favorite part was when they reunited on the bike scene. I felt myself like melting in my like on my couch. Like him
Yeah.
like biking hard, her coming in. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I want this exact moment in my life."
yeah, that
Yeah.
was cute. That was cute as
It was
hell.
so cute.
Yeah, no,
I
I
watched
Yeah,
it I
agree.
watched it like 3 times. I rewinded it back and watched it again.
Oh,
yeah.
that's cute.
They yeah they ate that up. They were so giddy, standing on the bike like, oh, my girl, my man. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and
they
then they
ate.
hugged. They didn't even kiss. It was a "you are my person" type of moment, you know? It wasn't just about,
Mhm.
like, kissy, kissy, kissy. It was like, "This you're my person, I miss you." And I was like, "Aw," that was really cute. And then to have that followed by like, episode 5 was just the shit. That happened in episode 5, like
Yeah, Martha's
that was the
Vineyard.
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, like them like having their first time at the barn. I was like, okay, boo, like you know how to treat a lady, okay? Because this is really cute to be like their first time together. And then so we'll get into it. But yeah, I
Mhm.
love that as well. Any thoughts on like the love story as a whole? Like just like it was a lot of drama in the beginning, then it was like it seemed like it got to a steady space, but like
I felt like it was this age, like the kids these days. This was their Love Jones a little bit. You know that whole like get together, fall apart, get back together again. So yeah, I loved the love story here. I was like, yeah, it's a little chaotic. It's a lot going on. I think what Keisha had going on, I thought like, oh, this is so relatable, right? Like that whole idea of just being isolated as, you know, a young girl when instances like this happen. And then for Justin to just be so patient, such a gentleman, so caring of her feelings. Like, you can tell he tries to be very in tune with what she got going on, and he's very considerate. And so, yeah, perfect love story for me. I was like, oh, the kids got them a little Love Jones. All right, all
Mhm.
right.
Yeah. I really love how they incorporated like modern day things like blocking. It was the blocking back and forth for me where I was like, oh, I, I like had a phase
yeah.
of that, of course, like in my like early or probably like mid 20s, but I'm like, you're right. Teenagers are going through this, right? Like just blocking folk back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really interesting. And then going as far as to like get your friend to message someone, I was like, oh, teenagers is bold because I don't think I
Yeah,
would ever go that far.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But it's like they know that that they're so fickle and they know like, hey, like let's,
yeah,
figure
yeah,
it
yeah,
out. Like they're just
yeah.
so
But shout out to the bestie though, because she really held down that bestie spot.
she did. She
Like she
did.
didn't
She
cross
did.
her at all. She said, "Oh, you blocked him? I'm blocking him. Oh, you need to message him? I'll message him. Like
Yeah.
whatever you got, I got you, Keish." So
Yeah.
that was cute.
Hmm.
That was cute.
So I thought the love story itself was very believable, very realistic. Like this is what these kids be going through. This was sometimes the adults be going through it too. So I just definitely found it to be, nice, refreshing, and just I think it was unique in the sense that it also showed the male perspective on this. It wasn't
Hmm.
a lot of times we think about coming of age story or like love stories as being like this woman's story to tell, and we saw his side of it, and we saw the insecurities and the like second guessing or whatever, the things that were going on his end. And so I felt like that because of that balance, it just made it even more realistic because we saw what was going on for both of them, and
Yeah,
it wasn't just for all from her perspective. It was like a true love story, and I think that's why we love it so much because it was like it wasn't just a fantasy of like this is what this woman feels and this guy is coming and he's
yeah,
saving her and all these different things. It's like this is two
It
people
felt very
trying to make
real.
their lives, mesh together even at this early young age. So I like
Yeah, I would
that.
agree with you.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite parts is to see the emotion with the male character, which we rarely get to see. And the
Mhm.
kind of like stages he went through of like, I gotta try to hide it, I gotta express it, like all the different ways that it looks on a boy or on a man, right? And I feel like there aren't many templates to help young men move through their first heartbreak. I think there's lots of shows, lots of templates of how like girls and women move through it. You go to your friends, you cry, you get some ice cream, like you go out dancing, like there's all of that. And I feel like the only templates that I've seen is like men go out and they like party. Don't think about it, let's just kind of get drunk. Now, granted, like they're in high school and I get that, but it was nice to see him go through that and to show you can hurt. It's okay to hurt. It's okay to
Hmm.
cry. It's okay to be sad. Like these things are okay. I thought that was really beautiful.
Yeah. So yeah, let's kind of get into each character's development a little bit. We're talking about Justin, so let's start with him. What are our thoughts on Justin?
I loved him. I thought he reminded me of a family member. I'm not gonna put the family member out there, but he reminded me of a family member, and I was like, oh, this is so like beautiful. This is so like to see, in the fact that he was a good guy, and he also
Yeah.
was like he was just authentic to himself and not trying to put on airs, but also didn't was still figuring life out, like trying to figure things out. And so I found that to be very refreshing. And I found it to be a nice message for our young girls. My mom used to always talk about, like, all y'all want is sex. And I was like, that's not true. We don't. But sometimes it does seem like that. It does, like the girls want a bad boy. And so this is a nice little, message that, it's pick a nice guy, pick a guy who cares about
Yeah.
your feelings. And so I like that.
Yeah. He was such a gentleman. Like when he asked, like, what are you okay with doing? When he opened up the door, when he said, hey, I can hold your bag, like yeah, it was, I mean, we don't even get men made like that sometimes these days. So to see him be like that and to also come from such a stable family with a
Hmm.
very involved and present father, I
Hmm.
think that was just, it was so beautiful to see, like, this is what the outcome is in a household like that, right? And like the responsibility that you have in raising a son to be a good man. And Justin was a beautiful reflection of that to me. Yeah.
I agree.
Great kid. Hmm.
Yeah, he had really great character traits, right? So he was a gentleman. But then like he also had struggles, right, with his like ADHD, right? And they showed that throughout the series. But then he wasn't a pushover, right? Like he wasn't like peer pressure wasn't a thing.
Hmm.
I like to see that about him where it was like if he
Hmm.
was interested, he was going to do something even regardless of what his parents, thought, if he had like a strong feeling about something, he was going to move forward with that. And also, it showed him having boundaries, right? And I think his dad's
Hmm.
touched on that in that speech, right? You found a boundary and you held to it. And I thought that was really beautiful of teaching him this is what it feels like to come up against a boundary, and you handled it well, but in some ways you're hiding. But I thought we really got to see him mature. The other thing I really liked is that even though he was quiet and like respectful, he wasn't he had a strength about him, which I think sometimes we don't always get those two characters together. We get the guy that has a lot of
Hmm.
strength but is, possibly like disrespectful and things of that nature, and the other guy is a pushover and all of that. And so he had these really nice subtle traits that of course over time are going to develop into, a beautiful like young man, right? So I really enjoyed the writers, how they wrote his character, and even just
Hmm.
the actor, like how he played it so well.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that overall, like I have two brothers. He reminds me of my brothers, and just like they're good guys, and they have this character. But I think what you touched on, Victoria, was so important about the dad's presence. I think that that is why, that they're able to show this character this way, because there's the dad who's saying, "Do this, don't do that, make sure you do this," and um, in a way
Yeah.
that a man to man sort of exchange.
Hmm.
Because the mom says
Yeah.
certain things, but it's just very over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Even back to your point, Chi Chi, like with his boundaries, he didn't just have them just with Kiesha, but we saw them in other dynamics as well. When they were at Martha's Vineyard on the beach, and the not cousin was like, "Let's do it," and he was like, "Not really, not really for that." Or when she offered him the blunt, he was like, "I'm good." Or when the friend was trying to peer pressure him to do certain things, and he was like, "Nah, I'm for the chocolate. I'm not with this vanilla stuff." At the party, like he was definitely like standing firm in himself, and I think it made it a what am I trying to say? It helped his character development in terms of trying to find his identity, because
Mhm.
it wasn't like he was trying to chase all of this outside pressure. It was truly like, okay, what do I want? Like I can shut the noise out pretty easy. Um, but yeah, any other thoughts on Justin, or should we move on to Kiesha?
Keisha.
Okay. What are our thoughts on Keish?
I liked her. I liked her. I thought she was a nice representation of a black girl. Like you could pluck her out of any neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like you could pluck her off of Howard's campus. Like, you know what I mean? She was so representative in all the ways, from the natural hair and the box braids, like to the edges. Like she had edges in every
Yeah,
in
Edges was
every
on fleek. Boy, I said, damn, she keep him late.
I know. I literally, I promise you, I ran out of like, I ain't had no gel today, and I was like, what did she be using? I'm like, what did she use? Because like, it was holding down. So,
Yeah.
I like that representation of her, and as a character, I like that she was smart and she knew herself, and she was a kid, of course, like block on block. It was a little bit of some of that silliness going on, but at the same time she was dealing with a lot, and I just think that her reactions and things, they were very normal, and I loved her, seeing her as a character. I thought she was very a good representation.
I liked her character as well. I think she represents what happens often when we self sabotage a little bit. Um, because every single time something good was kind of happening for her, especially with her dynamic with Justin, like she found a way to kind of pull back. And it's almost like that. Sometimes you don't know if somebody really is a good person, if they're really going to be there for you. So you almost like subconsciously just test it out. You just keep throwing stuff out there. You just, you know what I'm saying, want to see what happens. But when he reversed Uno'd on her and blocked her, she was like, "Oh, I gotta get on this plane and get to Martha's Vineyard because this man is not playing with me. Like, I gotta stop the games." Um, but yeah, I enjoyed her character. I definitely agree. You could definitely pluck her out of any neighborhood, whether it was the suburbs, whether it was the hood. Like, she was the
Yeah.
black girl.
Yeah.
She did it. She did her thing. Yeah.
Yeah, she did. I also enjoyed her character. I enjoyed her determination, right? Which I think is just a common trait in Black women in general, right? Of like just this
Mm-hmm.
determination to get to the thing that we desire. And we're not going to be stopped or deterred, or even if there are obstacles that come our way, we're going to persevere. And I thought that her character really showed that. All the
Mhm.
things that she went through with the whole situation with Christian, even with like overcoming the situation with her father, her discipline of getting up, what was it, 4 in the morning to go and train for track. Like she had a
Mm-hmm.
plan, she had like a vision, and she moved towards it and she executed it. And so I agree, you could pluck her out of any neighborhood. She did that as a black girl, developing to a black woman. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the family members, right? Justin's family members, Keisha's family members. What did you all think of them?
I loved George. Because I was like, go ahead, granddaddy, stepping in, because the daddy was doing whatever he was doing, which I actually don't dislike the daddy, but, and I don't, it was just interesting. A nice vibe of characters that rounded out this crew and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I liked how they had the dad, like Keisha's dad. It's not that he was like a deadbeat, right? He just wasn't present because he
Mhm.
was doing whatever. What was he, a baseball player or something overseas? I
Something
think they
like that.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I enjoyed that because Keisha still had a reverence for her father. She still had a
Mhm.
respect for her father. So we weren't dealing with the whole like my baby daddy, da da da. Like I said in the beginning, like we weren't dealing with stereotypes, negative
Mhm.
stereotypes of
Mhm.
black
Mhm.
people, and it was showing a different family dynamic where a dad is involved, but he is not right here present in the household. In that regard, I mean, I guess can you call him involved if
Well,
he
I mean, I
out
think
the
it's a
country?
luxury a little bit. That's why I kind
Yeah,
of like
yeah, yeah,
is you know, because it's a luxury that he has. The mom doesn't have that luxury. She's there
right,
with her
right,
every day,
right.
and so I would have loved to see. I mean, I think they had to. You have to write in some tension in the story, and so
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a better story for that him and her, that father daughter relationship, than him being like a total deadbeat dad. You get what I'm saying?
yeah,
Because I agree with
yeah,
you. There is a difference that's happening here. I don't think he was deadbeat, even though the granddad was kind of just like he was
yeah.
kind of fed up.
Granddaddy
But
didn't play.
I think that the granddad recognized, like, I'm waking up at 4 a.m. There's a level of active being present that is required.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I liked about George because when Keisha tried to give her dad the out of like, oh, it's okay. And like George was like, it's not. And you don't actually have to act
yeah,
like it's okay. I'm his father and I'm telling you like it's not okay. Right. So I really like the fact that George was like, you don't have to accept these excuses from him. But she did have a respect and a reverence for her father, which was nice to see. I like that they gave us context because oftentimes we don't get context why someone is deadbeat or not involved, right? And we got the story of how that started with his relationship with his father, right? And what was it? His dad did not, was drafted, didn't go that or went that route, end up not working out. So then his dad wouldn't let him be drafted, and so now he's on this pursuit to kind of like
hmm
prove like his dad wrong. And interesting enough, Keisha understood that at her
hmm
young
yeah,
age, she was able to really take into context around this is not about me, right? This is
hmm
about my dad and what he's trying to prove for his life and what he's doing in his relationship with his father. And so, even though she even held him accountable of like, you're not present, but you're not a bad person. And I know this isn't about
hmm
me. I know that you love me. And you're right.
hmm
He did have that luxury because the mom was so present and was doing everything that she
hmm,
did, because his father was so present and was doing everything that he was doing, and her cousins. So she wasn't lacking in love and family, but she didn't
right.
have the constant presence of her father.
hmm
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess we can probably also say he wasn't necessarily financially supportive either because we
Uh,
see that the mom, was struggling. So there was a lot that he was lacking, as a father.
mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Especially for him that when he did come back around, he was so strong. Like he felt like he had he had so much say in, his daughter's life, and it's like, yo, brother, you
Yeah.
ain't been here. So yeah.
Yeah, when we
But he
get to
did
that,
tell
I
her
have
about
some thoughts.
Justin, though. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was
Yeah,
about
he
to say, I
did.
was like,
He
we can talk
did.
about
He
it now,
did.
we
He
can talk about
did.
it
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I thought that was a good conversation to have,
then.
because Justin represents like the guy who's like a nice guy, right? Like some people would say like doing those types of things would be like love bombing or doing a lot, right? But it's like no, he's actually just a nice guy. And also too, I think like when men are lost, yes, they anchor themselves into a woman or into something, right? To kind of help them develop and help them move along. That's why we always have these conversations about raising a man and doing all of these things. But I think it was also his ADHD that played a part in
Mhm.
that because Kiesha was something that allowed him to focus. It gave him something to focus on. So all
Mhm.
of the overstimulation that can happen for an individual with ADHD, he was able to kind of like calm that down a little bit because we saw that he wasn't taking medication.
Mhm.
So I think that was also something that was going on within their dynamic. It wasn't just like he's anchored because he has like this super large attachment to Keisha and just wants it to be Keisha and nothing else. I think she really helped him just kind of like, all right, let's center ourselves, let's do our work. She was a good influence in his
Mhm.
life.
Yeah, and I meant to say this earlier when we were talking about her, but she was very wise. Like it's like, come on, black woman, this blossoming in you, like this wisdom of being
Mhm.
able to talk, help center him, bring clarity to some of what he was dealing with, and just kind of counsel him. You know how they'd be like, get you a black woman. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
She was like baby black woman. She was starting
Yeah,
off
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like,
yes.
look, I'm here to
I'm
help
only going
you.
to tell you this one more time. Talk to your mother and father.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I enjoyed that about her. But anything else to say before we move into like the episodes? Like we're gonna kind of discuss the things that happened as they happened. Anything else on the characters? I know we didn't talk about the mom really yet, but
Yeah.
she wanted to
We can get
first.
into her.
We get introduced to her really quickly, so we can
Yes.
talk about her then. But okay, so let's just breaking into the episode. Like we see he's struggling with this essay or whatever, and then like literally the next scene is like the mom getting on him, and so we like, okay, mom is a little aggy, like and I sympathize with the mother because I can be like that sometimes, like as an oldest of four, like I can be like that with my siblings, and so I recognize and I see my mother, she's like that a little bit, but not as
No, I feel you,
yeah.
Kamaria, though, because I was watching this like, is this going to be the time? Like, when I watched it, I was like, I feel like this is the mother I would be. If I was a mother right now, I already know, like, you're not going out late. The cops is running the streets. You a
Right.
black man out here. Got to protect. What's the plan? What are you doing? Who you
Right.
with? Like, I'm like,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
And so
But
it's just like
anywho,
a thing that we will have to be, it's a challenge. I was saying this to somebody the other day. It's a challenge that life has presented us that we will just have to manage as we go through our journeys once we get to motherhood, all those different things.
yes.
But yeah, but she was Aggie. I was like, okay. In the scene, she laid on like a little thicker than I would. I'm like, girl, you went an inch too far. I wouldn't go that far. But we get introduced to her and the family or whatever. The biggest things we learned from episode one is like we learned one that the mom is on him. She's very aggy. That he goes to the party and he meets Kiesha. They reconnect. They went to elementary school together, and they like even in that party we see that they make decisions to kind of be together and like have their little first kiss in the closet or whatever. And so they go on a date, they go ramen and shopping, and it's really cute. And then we get to the movie theater scene where we find out, okay, Keisha's they about to do something, but then it kind of like gets out of hand and there's a miscommunication, and we learned that there's a sex tape, that has happened. And so Keisha in this moment like has this big reaction to what's going on, and Justin's so clueless. He's like, what are you talking about? Because he doesn't know about the sex tape. But she has a big reaction to it. And I'll kind of pause there, but like I feel like that was like a big moment, and I think that's where I started being like, okay, I see this show. This show has some depth to it when that came about. So yeah.
Yeah.
When as soon as I saw that scene, I was like, oh, I can count on all my 10 fingers how many times something like this happened, in high school or that I knew of, with just salacious things happening in high school, and then how a young girl is now categorized because of that. So I
Mhm.
was like, yeah, I thought that this was like a um a perfect input into the story for them to be in high school and something like this happens.
Yeah, and I really felt for Keisha in that moment. Like I felt like, wow, like that's a big thing because I think like one of the things that young boys, I don't feel like it takes them a while, maybe not Justin, but too many of them, it takes a while for them to recognize that this moment, sex is sacred. Like it's not, this is a forever moment for this woman. Like she said sort of towards the middle of the episodes, she was talking about like you're on that sex tape to Christian, and I'm the one with the consequences. And so it's like they don't treat it with enough care, some of them, too many of them at that age. And so it's just it's ripe for like that age range is ripe for a lot of these things to happen, because the woman is, or the girl is going with her heart and she's thinking like, oh, da da da, but you've got these really immature boys, because these men can be immature, and
Yeah.
at that age the boys, and so it's just like whoo, and it's just a lot. It's just a ripe conditions for something bad to happen like this. And so
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
surprised that it happens so much, but it is still, I feel for her. I was like, dang, like emotionally, I understand this reaction. I understand it completely.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is a good like learning lesson for both, like you were saying, Kamaria, around like sex being sacred, right? I think there is a moment, when we get further on, we'll talk about it, when Christian realized like, oh, I made a huge mistake, and not realizing how sacred sex is. And I think it was a learning moment also for Kiesha around, like you said, she was leading with her heart. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a lesson for women to learn, of the balance between leading, being in your heart space, leading with your heart, but also balancing that with everything else that is going on. How long or how
Yeah.
well do I know this person, or is there trust built here, or things of that nature, right? It's like you can't
Mm-hmm.
always be in the space only leading with your heart if you're not met with that same devotion. But you don't know that
Yeah.
until you know it, right? And so unfortunately, she was learning this quite early.
Yeah, agreed. I think also too, to touch on that, she also mentioned something. I don't know if it was in this episode or an episode. It might have been episode 2, so I might be jumping ahead here, where she said, I did that because I wanted you to see how much I liked you. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And how much women will lead with sexuality because we are taught that we are to be desired. And so a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times that comes with having to put that to the side and no longer feeling like that can be a sacred space, because we have to prove I'm in this with you and I want you to like me back, without
Mm-hmm.
understanding that no, think there are requirements for me to share my body with
Mm-hmm.
you, or for us to have any type of intimacy beyond maybe kissing or holding hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that was a really nice thing to show. And this is not something that just happens in high school. Like, adults struggle with this, and this
Mm-hmm.
is a real thing. And I think it was nice to show that we get these messages early on. This is
Yeah.
not just adults doing adult things. Like, we are taught from a very young age that you are to be desired,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times that means, okay, well, you gotta give up the cookie or do something to show, hey, I like you.
Mm-hmm.
So
I thought
yeah,
that was
that
a
wasn't
good point.
yeah.
Very good point. And then also, I think like pleasing men is a thing we're taught
Yeah.
very early on, like them
Right,
pulling
right, right.
their pleasure, them, us making them feel good, Um,
Yeah.
so I agree with that
Yeah, because
point.
it wasn't vaginal sex. It was oral sex. So again,
Yes,
this
it's like
whole
I'm
idea.
just here to like
Yeah,
make you
yeah,
feel
yeah,
good,
yeah,
and that's part of my role. And I think that happens a lot of times, like even in like you could talk to like women in their 20s, 30s, 40s who get to a space of being like, "Oh, I need to be pleased too." Like this whatever's happening is not working for me. And I think that like society allows us or conditions us to be okay with being a like pleasing man, or being a sex object, or making sure that the moment is good for them, but not really checking in with ourselves to be like, did you enjoy it? Is this working for you? That sort of thing. And
hmm
so I know that's like different from exactly what was going on with them, but I'm just speaking to that piece of like making sure that men are pleased is like a thing
yeah,
that I think women and girls are taught very early on. And I think it
yeah.
blossoms into a bunch of different issues, but you know.
hmm
I mean, I agree, right? I think that they are taught that. I also think that if you're met with that same devotion, right, then actually the essence of I want to please my partner is actually a great thing to have. But if you're not met with the same devotion of I'm just here to take, 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 then it becomes an imbalance. And that's what it showed the innocence, the beginning of when you become like, you begin to interact with your sexuality, with other people that you find sexually attractive, and it shows the innocence of, oh, I want to please you because I like you, right? And then it would be hope that you're met with, I want to please you because I like you, and that would be the basis of the relationship. But there's so many things that get this situation right here, right? There's so many things that happen that then take you out of that. So then you feel like you do have to safeguard, you have to pull back a bit, and then say, I deserve to be pleasured as well. Because it's turned into this one-sided thing, right, of pleasing the other and not being pleased. And so, yeah, yeah. So that's what I was sharing.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know how to end that.
Yeah.
Mm,
I guess we can jump back into the storyline. So after this blow up happens, that's when we kind of get to see that Justin is very much so into Kiesha, because he ends up ditching school to use his driver's license training time to go see Kiesha and let her know, like, yo, this was a big miscommunication. Like, I wasn't, I wasn't down with that because we ain't there yet, So unblock me so that we can talk. But then he gets back home. His mama is pissed, takes away his phone, and now Kiesha is left on red with no response, which just leads to her leads to Justin getting blocked again. And I think that's kind of where we pick up into episode 2.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
like it brings in like the elements of like toxic relationships, but it's like it's so innocent that it's not toxic because it's like they just don't know what they're doing. They're just
Right.
Mm-hmm.
reacting. They're just reacting. So, but I thought it was like a very interesting sort of dynamic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What did you guys think about when the dad came in? Because this is kind of what happens next in episode 2. He comes in, he's like, "Hey, for future references, your mama want to see you with a black girl, so lead with that next time. Tell the truth, be open and honest, and express yourself, and let's see where it gets you." And so he ends up doing that and gets his phone back. What did you guys think
Mhm.
about that interaction?
It was great. I was like, that's the
I
importance of this black dad or like just the father
yeah.
figure. It's important. Like he gotta hip him to like you gotta finesse a little bit. These women don't like you come and start, you gotta finesse. Like daddies
Mm-hmm.
teach their sons, you gotta finesse. In a good way. In a good way.
Yeah, he was giving him these cheat codes to be like, yeah, I know your mother comes off this way, but this is really what's going on with her, right? Like, really teaching him how to understand women. It was such an importance of like, Black fathers being in their kids' lives. Also, I love a big moment. So, shout out to Justin making his way over to her school to let her know. I love big moments to express how you feel. I don't
Hmm.
know why they left after high school or young 20s, but they need to return.
Yes, yes. Because what they be saying, if he wanted to, he would,
Hard
sis.
moment.
Like,
Oh, I'm sorry. What'd you say?
I said, they be saying if he wanted to, he would,
Oh
sis.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
to the big point, that is true because like asking a girl to prom or like asking a girl for her first date is like a big thing in high school,
Mhm.
and the big gestures they don't happen once you get into
I know,
adulthood too
right?
much.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. Yeah. But I did. I also liked. I was like, we get introduced to Justin's swag a little bit there because I like someone may argue that he doesn't have swag, but he does. He has a level of I'm a little like not what you're used to, but I'm going to say my piece because I
Hmm.
respect myself and I think that what I want is worth going after, and I'm going to be playing with you. And if you don't. Then it's whatever. But I liked him and the energy he came and brought it with. And then Keisha was like she felt that like it was a nice
Yeah, yeah,
a nice
yeah.
Yeah.
exchange of like it doesn't have to be this guy who is just I don't know like some yo ma you did it and it's like he came
Hmm.
was calm but very very firm. He knew what he wanted, so
Yeah,
Hmm.
she named it. She said he was honest, right? That was the thing that she liked about him was that
mm,
he was honest. And
mm,
like, when like when you're having a conversation with a partner and the moment rises and you really need to say the thing, like you need to bring the truth to the moment. And I feel like as adults, we shy away from that. And he did not. When the moment came up, she was like, oh, prom this, prom that. He was very direct. He was very direct of her to get
Yeah.
to every point. Is this what you're saying? Is this what you're planning on doing? And
mhm,
I really love to see that. He was very honest. There was no acting
mhm,
like he didn't understand and then playing like it didn't bother him.
mhm,
Hmm.
So in episode 2, Justin gets reblocked again and then get unblocked again as he goes and talks to Keisha at the park where she's picking up trash. And this is the episode where he gets introduced to Christian, where the moms realize that, oh, we haven't seen you since like elementary school. These are our kids. This is the update. And the kids are just standing there looking all types of awkward because they kind of know each other and know a little bit of the history. What are you all's thoughts about that?
I was like, oh, this is messy. That's all I thought. I was like, Keisha mama don't know what's going on. She done brought Christian up here. The signs are not clear that she don't want nothing to do with Christian. And so I was just like, this is messy. But I also was like, shout out to Justin's mama, because she was like picking up everything that was getting put down. I was like that observant mother of, you know what I'm saying? That is
Detail
when the
oriented, yes.
right. That's when the helicopter mom was coming into play, and it was working out, because it was like, hold
Yeah.
up now, what's happening? Because my son's face just changed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, well, this is messy. This is about to get real
Mhm.
bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then like in this episode too, Christian delivers the flowers. And
Yeah.
so at that point we don't know what's happening as far as why is he delivering the flowers. I was like, did somebody just tell him to appease her because like you don't want her to go to the authorities, you have a future ahead of you? I didn't know what it was, but when I saw him show up at the park, I was like, dang, this man trying to get her back. And we can't have that for our man Justin. You know, we like this is true love. Like you need to go somewhere. And so that was the next kind of obstacle that they had.
This is also where we become introduced to like a little bit of like Keisha's mom and her, like their dynamic
Mm-hmm.
around, like you could
Mm-hmm.
tell like Keisha wasn't really feeling the flowers. Her mom, her cousins were hyping it up, and all like in good intention, right? Because they don't know what's happened between her and Christian. But you can begin to see how like why she hasn't said anything to her mom, because she wants to please her mom. Her mom works so hard. And so, yeah, we start to see the beginning of why she's even entertaining Justin. And that is to kind of please her mom. And her mom has no idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it is interesting also, like I think sometimes like kids who have to worry about things as children, things that they shouldn't have to worry about, I think sometimes they mature a little bit faster. It depends, because everybody takes things different ways. But I think they showed her kind of character as like someone who sees her mom struggling a little bit, and she's trying to like take on some responsibility for that, which
Mm-hmm.
that's not what it's not for her to do in that way, and she kind of went about it in an immature way. But I said that to say that like I think that some of her like wisdom when she's talking to Justin and things like that is from this like space of like, oh, she's like, she's had to live a little. Like she's not just a suburban kid who's had like a lot of things, handed to her. She's had to like live a little bit. And so there's a little bit more perspective about life, even like about her own story and why she wants to go to Howard and things like that. She's like, I have to be practical or whatever, because this is, I'm trying to get somewhere.
What did you
Yeah.
all think about her actually going over to the dumpster to have a conversation with him? Like the length of the conversation, like all of that. Because I was like, girl, you could have said no, thank you, right? Because like Justin already like made it clear, I'm not shaking your hand, right? Like I'm not with
Yeah.
this.
And
And
shout out
so
to
I
him for
felt
that.
right,
Boundaries,
right.
boundaries, honey.
I was like, Justin ain't playing with him. This a quiet zone
Yes.
over here. Y'all need to like.
Okay. Okay. I said this. I was like, he has the gentle giant edit. Like he is like that
Mm-hmm.
man that don't play about you, and I love
Mhm,
that for him. Okay.
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, yes. I thought for
Yeah.
a
I don't know
second that
why
his
she
mom
went
was
over
gonna
there.
pick up on that and be like, and not hug him, but I guess she was like, I ain't trying to be rude, but like,
Yeah.
but she was like, oh hi. I don't know, but I don't know, for whatever reason, Keisha's mom reminds me of Brandy. I keep wanting to call her Moesha. But she was just not picking up on anything. Like you said, Victoria. I was just like, what in the world? Girl, like you ain't picking up on these things. Like I need you to recognize something is going on here. Like
Yeah.
I felt like it was a little
Yeah.
clear. Clear enough, but I don't know.
I have my thoughts on that. I think part she's so busy that she like really doesn't have the wherewithal to like see what is happening, and I also think part she doesn't want to see it. Right? I think she wants this story for her daughter
Hmm.
that like she wanted for herself. And so I
Mhm.
think like part of that longing to want that for her, keeps her from seeing like what does my daughter actually want, what is going on here, and then also she's working like two jobs, so she doesn't really have time to think about those types of subtleties. Um,
Right.
yeah.
True.
Yeah. Agreed. I was like, she's living, like when she brought the prom dress, I was like, yeah, she's probably vicariously living through her daughter a little bit, and trying to, allow her the space at least to do everything that she wasn't
Mhm.
able to do because she had Kiesha so young. So yeah, I definitely agreed there. She's probably like, oh, nice man. He's possibly going to the NBA. My daughter's going to Howard. Like, this is it right here. Yeah, go ahead and go talk to that man, girl. Like, please. Um,
Mhm.
Yeah.
This your ticket. This your ticket.
Right, right.
Um, but yeah, like in episode 3, we see Kiesha's side of the convo. We see that like she pushes back because like the way it was looking at episode 2, it was looking like, girl, why is he so close to you? You know? But
Right.
Right.
I guess
Kissing you on the forehead.
she's like, I'm just trying not to, make my mom any suspicious, like, but we see that side of the conversation, and like we kind of get this him saying like, I got this, or training help and all this other stuff, because she's a pro athlete as well, or a track star and so she starts hanging out with him to get training, or at least that one time. And then we have that conversation where she's like, this is not happening the same for me as it is for you. And it was interesting in that moment, though, also like that piece of it, that Christian, I saw his side of it as well, and not saying that the excusing it or anything like that, but I think the story I had in my head was this guy who was just like a horrible guy and was just out here trying to brag and da 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 da. And I realized it's like, oh, he's just immature, and he's just
Yeah.
silly. And I don't want to say stupid, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he just doing stupid shit. You get what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
he cares about her, but he is not, he's reckless with how he is operating with her precious reputation, I guess, And so that was kind of, I think, a big part of that episode is just like that conversation, and then him asking her to prom. So what were y'all thoughts on this whole like Christian coming back into the life, and her kind of being like, okay, I'll do the training, okay, I'll go to prom. And that was after an argument. They had her and Justin had an argument, but yeah. Hmm.
I thought this is where she was getting a little bit in her self sabotage bag here, because it's
Hmm.
like you have this really nice guy who has not hurt you, vice versa. You have this dude who may be immature, but at the end of the day caused you to have to shift your life in such a drastic way. On top
Hmm.
of you disclosed that you went through a whole depressive episode because
Hmm.
of this. Like, this kind of shut your world down, and you are easily letting him in just to maintain this perception for your mom. And it's like all you're doing is creating more hurt and pain for yourself, because what you really want, you're allowing to just kind of slip through your fingers,
Hmm.
all for this practicality thing.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's what I was like, okay, she's self-sabotaging here a little bit.
I think that's where like the like immaturity in all of them were showing, where it's like, girl, just go tell your mom so you can tell this guy no to prom so we can just this can be over and done with, right? And Justin was trying to tell her, just tell your mom. And I get like things can be feel so big, and then when you step back, they probably aren't as big as they feel. But you're right. It kind of felt like she was self sabotaging a bit. And I didn't feel bad for Christian, but I did see like this, you're not a bad guy, but you're quite immature, right? And you probably haven't had to develop certain character traits because you're good at sports, you're a nice looking dude, you seem to be charismatic, right? Like those things have really carried you. And so you haven't had to really slow down and say, wow, how do I take care of someone else's heart? The importance of that. And I think he learned it in that moment, or at least began to, when she was expressing to him, like, you're in that video too, but you're fine, right? You're still at Brookwood, right? Like you're going to
Mm-hmm.
Kansas, like I guess you still had a scholarship, like all of these things are still happening for you. And my life has changed drastically because of that.
I did not feel sorry for him. I understood a
Mm-hmm.
perspective about how it happened that I didn't
Yeah.
understand at first, or that I assumed
Yeah.
was opposite at first.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
No, but you're right though, because it was given like he just passed this tape around,
yeah, like he just set her
recklessly.
up and was just
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Hey,
yeah,
you booty hoes," or something like that, and just
yeah,
sent her out there. But it looked like it was like, oh, okay, he's just a stupid kid, and it's just like, but
yeah.
there's consequences for that too. You get what I'm saying? Like
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
you lost you a good one, you gonna learn. And so,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
but
because he said he sent it out because everybody was saying that white girls do it better or something like that. So he sent the video to show that's not the
Not this is
it's
the way to
like,
support the culture.
I know that's
right,
right.
right, right, right,
I'm like, I'm gonna need you to have
right.
higher standards for like what it
Yes.
is that matters for like Jesus. It was just, yeah, not 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 the move. Um,
Yeah.
in this episode also, like, we have this situation where Justin, like, where she tells him, okay, I'm going to prom, you had told me to find another Kiesha, so I thought we were done, and I said yes to this prom situation. But Justin's like, well, now you need to say no. And so, like, she's just like, I can't. I'm, trying to protect my mom, and that's like just the running theme of like why she doesn't share this information. But they do at some point. He texts her and then they reconnect. And there's just like the big highlight of this episode for Justin is him deciding to take that basketball game into his own hands and going on the court. I was so happy for him in that moment. I was like, go ahead, do your thing. But that was sort of the way we end the game or in the episode is like Kiesha shows up at the game and then she kind of just follows his ass on the bus and they go where they go and then he like all right and they forgive each other, so they're reconnected by the end of episode 3. And we kind of discover also that Justin's trying to get into school and he's got like less, his prospects are not as great as he initially thought they were and stuff like that. But he does seem to be a great ball player, just not getting any time. So
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought that was crazy. I was trying to figure out, are they going to show or tell us more about why he didn't get no gameplay when he was shooting all them buckets like
they
that?
said it because it was like the CEOs, the sons of the CEOs and stuff like that,
Yeah.
where
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
being up to them, and so that's why he wasn't playing him. But like, I'm sure he didn't bench him after that. but
Right,
surprisingly, it took like throughout the rest of the series, basketball took a back seat. He wasn't even.
right.
It was like music,
Mm-hmm.
became more of a passion
Yeah,
for him.
So then we start in episode 4, where then she lets Christian know that she's not going to prom with him. And like everything between her and Justin is like all good. He had his big moment at the basketball game. And didn't his dad say something like, I don't know, his dad made some comment to the extent of like, there's only one thing on the world that's going to have a guy like focus like that, like get on the
Um,
court and do what he needed to do. And that was for a
yeah.
girl, right? So I thought that was a really like cute moment.
yeah.
But the big thing in episode 4 is when they like decide to, I guess, attempt to have sex for the first time. What are y'all's thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
I was like, that girl.
So
She was like, she like you. She let you have your moment. It wasn't what she thought it was gonna be, but she's like, here you go, baby. Here's your towel. Like, that's a woman that loves you. That's a
I
woman.
was thrown off. I was like, I don't want to see these. Like, I know they are
They kept
adults,
having the
but
nudity.
I was like over. I had to skip through all the sex scenes because I was just like, I know they're adults in real life, but in season 2, if the writers and producers cannot bring that back, that would be great. We don't need to see teenagers having sex. Like they could have just gave us like, they just rolled over out the bed, something, anything but what they was giving us. Us seeing him clip his balls, standing there naked, like it was too much. It was too much.
Yeah,
I
no,
was.
I was startled by the scene of him being like naked from the backside. Like I was like, "What?" I was like, "This is child porn. What is this?" Like I was not. But I was like, "Okay, yeah, he's probably in his 20s. He's probably not a teenager. I don't know his technical age, but I know that they wouldn't get in that sort of legal trouble like that. So I know he's an adult, but it still was odd to see and very kind of jarring.
Yeah.
It was. It was jarring like watching teens basically have sex. But I tried to think of it from this perspective, not at the time, but after I cringed through it, I was like, oh, okay, for a teenager, they're probably excited, right? Like they're not cringe because it is their age, right? And so I was like, let a little teenager have their moment. Like not in the show, and I'm talking about the teenager watching it, right? Because this is the time
Mhm.
frame that you're beginning to think about like sex, if not a little bit earlier. And to be like, what is this about? What's going on? I'm having some sensations, some things happen for me, right? And there just isn't,
Mhm.
if you don't have the type of relationship where you can talk to a parent, an uncle, an aunt, I don't know, somebody about it, then TV is where you getting it. And at least this one wasn't really raunchy or like something like overly aggressive. Like it,
Yeah.
it was a yeah.
I mean, to be honest, like the sex scenes didn't bother me. I don't know, like maybe it didn't bother me. It was the nudity that bothered me. Like the sex
Yeah.
scenes just felt like, oh, this is a coming of age story. Like there's a little bit of something going on, whatever. And I know that they're in my head adults, so this is just
Yeah.
their moment. Although sex scene at the end when they was in the Jeep, I was like, okay,
That was something
this is
else.
adult sex. What's
That
happening
felt
here?
like two grown folks having sex. I was like, wait a minute.
This is adult sex. I'm like, what's happening here? But but I felt like that I didn't feel too I don't know, I didn't have too much of a reaction in terms of the actual sex scenes. It was the nudity to me. I just felt like
Yeah.
these are supposed to be teenagers. Like, let's just not have nudity. You know what I mean? It's not necessary for the storyline. So that was kind of like a little like it just threw me out, and I'm like, okay, they're actors. You gotta remember they're
Yeah.
actors, and they're of age, and it just was like a little odd, especially for
Yeah.
him because he looks very young. To be honest, he looks young. He doesn't give me grown man vibes. You know what I mean? Because people talk about like not to talk about something, sinners. They talk about the kid. What is that kid who played the guitar?
Sammy?
Yeah.
Sammy. People having all these TikToks and memes about how they're discovering that he's only 20 years old. He gave a little bit more grown man energy, but he's actually 20 years old. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how old this
Yeah.
kid is, but he gives not adult. So he does not give grown man energy. He gives a kid. So for me, it just was like, oh, okay, this is off. This is weird, very off. And, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
I think for me, it was the cringing because anytime I'm watching a romance or a sexual scene, I want to like then put myself into the position of, oh, this would be beautiful. I'd love for this to happen to me. And that bit could not happen. It was just like, this is a child on the show, right?
Yeah.
Like not in real life. And so I think that
Yeah.
was the part where those scenes did not connect for me because I was like, okay, I guess this is for the teenagers who's watching it in secret in their bedroom, and I'm happy for them. But for me, we can go ahead and fast forward on through this.
Yeah. No, I just thought it was part of the story. Like it was very awkward, especially that this one in this episode, very awkward. And it was just like,
Oh yeah.
okay, it's just awkward, but it's just like a part of their coming of age story. So,
That's
Yeah.
the
yeah.
first time. If your first time is with a guy and this is for, that's what it is, right? So it was giving like this coming of age for both of them. And sometimes I feel like we only see the woman's like coming of age story, not
Mm-hmm.
so much the guys. But I mean, it was
Mhm.
handled well. She popped up, gave him the towel, and it was all good until it wasn't
Yeah.
Yeah.
because she decided to go to prom with Christian.
Oh yeah,
Right.
that is how that episode ends. And then she tells him, and that's how they break up before they go to prom. But like, it's like, dang, the first half of this series, it was all of this back and forth, and it was cute. It was nice, but like I actually enjoyed once they got past all of this, and they got into like their real more stable love story, even though, we know how it ends off.
Mhm.
But yeah, episode 5.
Yeah.
This is
Yes.
Vineyard. Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, yeah. This was a really good episode. I love that they went to Martha's Vineyard and gave us a little insight look at Oak Bluffs because that is where the black people hang out there. And I think the big things here are Kiesha, she runs into Justin's mom and Justin's little brother. And so they don't end up telling Justin about it, but his dad sits him down and is like, hey, Kiesha is here. And I see that you are still in love with Kiesha because there is another beautiful little girl here and you ignoring it all. So this is the time where you figure out what you want. You have that talk with yourself, be able to look yourself man to man in the mirror, right? And go for what you want. She's here. Have a conversation with her. And so we see Kiesha when that Uno reverse hits her, what's she willing to do? Because now it's Keisha's time to put in work. And so she like, yes, I'm going to cross the oceans, get on a plane, get on, what was it, a bike, 3 buses to go
Yeah.
get my man back. And
Hmm.
they end up reuniting. So let's, I guess, just cover up to there. What were y'all thoughts about all of that?
It was like the drama continues, but it's cute. We're here for it. But I will say that, like, I noticed Keisha is the one who kind of, well, he connected the relationship, reconnected or reunited them a time or two himself, like when she's blocked him. But she goes far and beyond. Like she was following him on the bus, and then now it's like she goes all the way to Martha's Vineyard. Not in
But
a
she
bad
has to
way.
because
But
low
I don't say it in
key
a bad
every
way.
single time they, yeah, I'm saying, but every single time they didn't end up, they ended up in some type of little sissy. It's because of her.
But she could come to his house and just been like, knock, knock, knock. Did she know where he
Yeah, she
lives
could
at that
have.
point? Yeah, yeah, she know where
I
he
don't think
lives.
she
Yeah,
They
she
did.
had,
knows.
yeah.
She did. Yeah.
Yeah, she did. She did because she had a really good relationship with everybody, the brother, the mom, the dad.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
That's how the brother recognized her. It was like, Keisha,
yeah.
what you doing here?
Mm-hmm.
Right. The way he said that, he did say it
But
like
they
that.
all just immediately like, girl, you're not supposed to be here.
Yeah,
That's how the mama knew this girl here for my
Right.
son. He got time.
yeah, yeah. She was not with
Right.
it.
Mama was not
Yeah.
feeling it at all. But I'm such a big fan of big gestures. So I was with it. Like, as soon as she arrived and was trying to figure out how to get to him, I was like, girl, go get your man. Like, I would have
Mm.
been biking and everything. Like, yeah, I loved it. But I think it was the first time we got to see Dawn be like, no, right? Like, I think her mama bear was coming out. And this is where I feel like
Mhm.
that's how I would show up. Like, maybe not like the helicopter, but I wouldn't
Mhm.
want my, like, or any of my children, girl or boy, but I wouldn't want my son to hurt. And so I think I
Mhm.
would probably be really protective in this area. Like, who is
Mhm.
this heifer? We
Mhm.
don't do this over here. And so I like that dad was like, let this boy hurt. This is some high school mess. This is what high schoolers do. Try not to make this about this
Mhm.
girl's character, right? She's growing up, she's maturing. Dad was really putting it into perspective. And I think mama was
Mhm.
dealing with her like, this is a grown woman.
I
Yeah.
know, right? This hussy coming for my baby.
Right. Right. Right.
And then I also don't think it helped that she was witness to her go off with Christian and the
Yeah.
prior episode, because I that would have set me off too. Like when she said, because I completely felt her when she said, I want you to be with a black woman, but I also don't want you to be disrespected. And that's
Mm-hmm.
that. There was an
Mm-hmm.
element of disrespect in all of the interactions with
Yeah.
Keisha gravitating towards Christian, even if it wasn't for the reasons of like I want to be with him. There
Mm-hmm.
was a level of
But
disrespect, presence of this other man in your life, or not man, but
right. Right.
whoever. He's in your life and he's trying to show up, and you're disrespecting him, even though it's for what you perceive as a good cause.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But something we did not touch on even in the last episode was that when Keisha ended up going to prom with Christian, and or no, was that episode
I
where
thought you were
he
about to say
kind
that
of
she
went off on the little brother and he needed the
Oh,
mental health day?
Depression Day. Yes. I think that was
Oh yeah.
that was
That was
definitely
episode
it
4.
already happened. Yeah, it was episode 4. Justin have yep, it happened right
Yes.
that was basically she told me to take
Yes.
school, yeah. Mhm.
Right, right, right. Yeah. So the mom has been with Justin through the heartbreak. And
Mhm.
so I think she was very much so in her right to be like, hold on now, like high school drama or not, how many
Mhm.
times are we going to allow our son to keep going down this path with this girl and he
Mhm.
keeps getting hurt? Like, he had to take a whole day off from school because of this.
But I also I like Dawn's character because I think there's a lot of realism there, and not even just for women period, not even just for black women, but for women period who are mothers. I think this rings true. There is this element of like wanting to protect your babies from harm. And so that piece of it that you speak to, I resonate with that. But I also think it was very necessary. This is why I think fathers are important to have in the home. I heard
Mm-hmm.
somebody say before, like fathers are the vehicles for children to learn safe detachment, and mothers are vehicles for babies to learn healthy attachment. And it's like the father is the one that helps to be like, okay, get out and play. It's safe. Let's go outside. Let's get away from mom for a moment. We're going to go play on the monkey bars. We're going to go do this thing. And they learn that it's safe to be out and explore the world in like a safe environment, but it's in this container of like your dad's presence. He's showing you like, oh, it's okay. We can go out and play and da 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 da. And so I felt like this moment was that kind of dichotomy of like mom is saying, let's be in and let's like the outside world is scary, and then dad is like,
Yeah.
he's got to be out there because he's, as a man especially, he's got to get a little tough skin. He's got to be able to learn to navigate hurt, and he won't learn that if he's just, not protected and, making all these decisions that are safe, and his mother is protecting him. He has to grow into this manhood. And so I even find that as the episode goes on, this is more of a coming of age story to me, for Justin, to be honest,
Justin,
than it
yeah.
is for her. Like, it is a coming of age story for her, but as with, I think, in life, I think young ladies mature at a certain level a little bit faster than the boys do. Just I'm not, it's not even like a judgment, but I just think there's like a level of maturity a little bit sometimes. And I think we see that in reflected in her character, and his character being kind of like just a little bit behind her on things as far as like how to move in life. She's like clear, Howard, blah blah blah. He's like, he gets a little lost in there, and I think it's a coming of age story as we go on, more for him than it is for her.
I think you are really speaking to that. It was a really good depiction of the healthy masculine and healthy feminine in this show, right? Where mom is coming in like the protector, right? Like, let's stay inside. But the dad is like, hey, let's talk about how you can go out and be safe. And I think that speaks to the masculine container of how we need a bit of both, right? Everyone, male or female, right? How we need a bit of like this healthy masculine and healthy feminine as well, to be able to go out and take risk and know that we got ourselves, so we can contain ourselves, but also be able to move with intuition, to be able to express ourselves and things like that. And so they did a good job of displaying that in Don and the husband's character, and then instilling that into their son. I mean, episode 5 was my favorite episode. It was the dad having the conversation with him. It was the big gesture of Kiesha going all the way to Martha's Vineyard to see him. It was the reunion on like this like foggy looking road, biking down the street. It was such like a young love story. I loved it. And then I think you mentioned earlier, Kamaria, around they met with a hug. It wasn't about let me like, like it was just, I miss your being, I miss your presence. Like this feels home, this feels good. And I I feel like we lose that innocence as we get older. Naivety, yes, we should let go of, because we learn things and then you should be able to apply these lessons. But I do think that sometimes we miss being in this innocence in relationship with people, and we don't get to enjoy those like really ooey gooey moments of that I felt like they really got to enjoy because they're kids.
Yeah, I actually thought like it was a very adult moment in my view. I was just like, because I feel like teenagers are so like, let me kiss you, let me whatever, and they just had this substantive moment of who you are. I enjoy who you are, and I want to be next to who you are. Like, that feels like a very adult thing. So I do hear what you're saying, and I also,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of had this moment where I thought it was like adult like, but I can see like it being
Yeah.
like this moment of innocence, of probably that's how they got to that moment, to be honest, is because they're very coming forth from a child's place of being like, I'm just dealing with what's real, because kids deal with what's real, teenagers don't as much, but kids do.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
voicemails that she had left him, that whole
Oh,
saga.
Oh,
yes.
yes.
Yes, yes, yes. I thought that was so cute. I love that. I love
Hmm.
that.
And I'm like, I have brothers who watch all that Naruto stuff, and she love him one to get into them shows, because they be trying to like, oh, watch Death Note or watch anime, and I be like, bruh, I'm not watching it. I don't care
Yeah.
how good the plot is, I'm not watching it. So she
Yeah,
watched
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I'm like, homegirl loves you.
Yeah.
She a
Yeah.
Naruto fan now. She loves
Right,
you.
right. I got a homegirl now watching anime because of the dude she got. I'm like, oh, he got you in, girl.
Yeah, they say it's good. They
But
say
yeah,
it's
she
good.
likes it. She's like, no, they're actually pretty good. I'm
That's
like,
what
oh,
they say. They like, you gotta watch Death Note, and I'm like,
yeah.
okay.
Fellas, if she'll watch anime for you, she's probably the one. She's probably the
Right, right.
one. Oh man.
Anything else in episode 5? Oh, we do at the end. We learn. Oh, they have sex.
Yeah,
But
the
I think I
bootlicking.
think this moment of them having sex was like very. It was just sweet. It was just sweet. That's why I'm like, I didn't
Yeah.
cringe at this stuff, except the fact that
This
it was
one was
the first
sweet.
one was awkward. but like it was sweet,
Yeah.
and it's like
Well, this one it was covered up. We didn't see no nudity in
true,
this
Yeah,
true,
we
one.
didn't
true,
say
true.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, yeah. And so I was just I enjoyed like that they reunited and he it seemed like he treated her well. It's nice seeing a young black girl on TV be able to fall in love and this guy treating her well. I enjoy seeing that unfold. And so this moment of the beach, like they were going down to the beach and then they had their blankets on and they rushed back and everybody was in the main house, but they were in the barn still. I was like, it's just so cute. But at the end of this episode, when they're leaving the beach and after the families have integrated, Zach, whoever Zach is, the childhood elementary school classmate, Zach's mom runs into them and she's like, "Oh," she reveals that Kiesha has a sex tape. And in Dawn's face, I was like, "Dawn, come on now, what's happening?" Her face was like like Kiesha had robbed a bank or something, or that Kiesha was
Yeah.
out here scheming and trying to pull her son into something. Like she looked at
Yeah,
her like
yeah,
a
yeah.
schemer as opposed to like this horrible thing happened. And she noted that herself in like the episode 6 that that was her first thought wasn't about Keisha's welfare, but it was just very, yeah, that's what we
Yeah,
ended
she did jump the gun a little bit. I was like, hold up, girl. Hold up. Yeah,
up.
yeah, she
Mhm.
did. She did. Yeah, so let's get into episode 6. They come back from Martha's Vineyard. Justin has a car. Everyone is excited. Woohoo. I said, oh boy, not the car. They finna be doing things
I
for real.
know. I was like, this is what parents must deal with, because it's like,
Yes.
if you don't, because them kids gonna be in that car. Like I was like,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we see that Justin's parents or Justin's mom sits him down and is like, hey, like, we know about the sex tape. And again, he does display his boundaries again. Like, I'm not breaking up with her. I love her. So I
mhm,
don't know what y'all want me to do.
mhm.
But that's not what's happening. And his mom is very firm on you need to tell Kiesha to tell her mama by Monday, or I will be calling her mama by Monday to let her know. What did you guys think about that? Putting Kiesha into this corner to tell her mom.
I thought it was the right thing to do. However, I think she went about it a little bit wrong. I think she should have had Keisha there and like been like, you can tell her to come on over here. You can break the news to her then. But I think she needed to talk to Keisha and to like let her know I'm on your side and like help her to see like because I don't know. I just felt like it's a lot to just be like from the shadows. Like I'm about to tell your mama. You better
Yeah.
tell her. It's like you got to sit her down. Like this is a lot, and you don't need to be carrying this by yourself. I'm gonna help you carry it, and you need to bring your mother in on this. You know what I mean? Like you need to sit with your
Yeah.
little clear, huxtable voice and just tell her and help her to see. And so that's the only thing I would have done differently if in that scenario. But I think eh, you gotta make that call as an adult in the you know what I mean? She's the adult in the room and she
Hmm.
knows that there is a sex tape situation happening. You gotta bring in the parent on that, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think definitely it could have been a really good just mother daughter moment from Justin's mom to Keisha, even though that's not her mom, to just say, hey, it does take a village and them people they failed you. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And your mom can't help you if she doesn't
Don't know.
know. And so I think it would be really good. Like even I can come with you to tell her. You don't have to even tell her alone. I think would have been good because this happened so long ago and y'all are, you know what I'm saying, you're just now finding out. So this girl has been holding on to this for a very long time. You also know now this is why she left her school, right? And you know that her parents or that her mom is, you know what I'm saying, definitely not in the same place as you financially. You can just tell that from the different places that they live. So it
Mhm.
definitely could have been, I think, handled with just a little bit more care. But it was definitely time for Keisha to tell her mom for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It was she had to, make that stand. She could have done a little bit different, of course, but Keisha needed to tell her mom because at that point, Keisha's mom still didn't know that she was with Justin, right? Like she didn't
Yeah.
even know that they were together.
Yeah.
Like there was just so much that she wasn't aware of. And so it was just time for that to happen.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah. So then we see that Keisha tells her mom. She's very upset. Mom is like icing her out. Justin wants to come to her defense. And mom again is stepping in and is like, baby, it's too late. You are not about to be leaving this house. And dad comes in so eloquently and is like, you're going to allow him to be a man. You keep saying you want him to be about a man to be a man. Let him do man shit. He was like, put your wallet on the dashboard, keep your, what was it, your car insurance. Just gave him that whole talk, that whole spiel of how you run down a potential police situation being a black man. So,
Mhm.
yeah, what you guys think about that?
So I liked what the dad said. I like his stance on it. I like that it was I liked it. However, I did feel like I grew up in a household with like one band, one sound, like I felt it was a little bit too much for that moment. I felt like it could have been a Don. Can I speak to you in another room? I need to speak to you. And then Don asked, should have gone in the other room because they gonna have that discussion in the other room and him be firm. And then they come out of there and be like, this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I feel like that in front of the child. And I think that, or like when he started speaking up, Don should have like just chill. You know what I mean? And just let him have it because I just felt like that was a little bit much of the both parents, having this back and forth. But you know, I thought it was it's what needed to happen. I just felt like it could have happened a little bit differently on both of their parts. I think she could have just, been like, I'm really, really concerned. And then him, be like, I understand that, but he's gotta go. The girl is out here, you gotta go. He'll be all right. And
Yeah.
just let it be. And then he could have done it a little differently rather than talking over her. But I think it was the right result. It just could have like been finessed a little bit differently on both of their sides.
I think it kind of happened because, later on we heard that Don was like, yeah, I've been in therapy and I've learned that I have a catastrophic parenting style.
Mhm.
And so I think he was stepping in probably because of that, because she was going to the worst possible thing that can happen if he
Mhm.
leaves the
Mhm.
house at this
Mhm.
hour.
Mhm.
So I felt like that was kind of like in support of that, because at the end he was like, you worry too damn much. Like, you need to chill a little bit. But I mean, I still, though, it could have still been a let's go talk to the side. But I think it was kind of just like this. It was so many emotions, especially for Justin. So I feel
Mhm.
like yeah, yeah. But I
Yeah.
feel you, though. I feel you. But I feel like it happened because she's always probably thinking of the worst, and
The
he's just
worst.
like, girl,
Yeah.
please.
I agree
Yeah.
with you all. I like the scene a lot. And also just I enjoyed Dawn and her husband's relationship. They had a really good relationship. They were a good balance to each other. But yeah, I agree. It could have happened a little differently, but also I understand why he said it in the moment. Like there's no time for a little side convo and all of this. Like he gotta go.
Mm. But yeah, I think that was a necessary scene. And I think it was good. Good conversation, good things were brought out of that scene for folks to consider for the culture. So Justin goes, and it is the right thing. Like this girl needs some support. You know what I mean? Because the mom's reaction, we didn't talk about the mom's reaction yet. Really, we talked about it happened, but the mom's reaction surprised me. I did not expect that. Like when the mom has the second talk with her at her cousin's house, that's the mom I thought she would see. Like when she was just like, this happened to you. Like someone, needs to pay and da 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 da. That's what I expected to see more of that. It was just not enough warmth for me.
I agree. I think in that moment, the mom's dream was crashing down in front of her, right? And then, like, it was just a lot to have to realize because of this event, especially the fact that Keisha had a full ride somewhere, and now Keisha's mom cannot pay her bills because she cannot afford to send her daughter to the school that they are at. And for it to go on so long that you allowed me to think it was because you was getting bullied or you were getting mistreated because these kids are racist. You had me go down to this school calling everybody a racist, right? Like all of these things happened because you thought you were protecting something, whatever, right? And so I don't know. I felt like it was a on point reaction because she was coming into all of these realizations because of this, and it was going on for so long. She didn't know about Justin. All of these things have been happening with her daughter. She didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it. I just felt like as a parent, that parent had, I think it was like not on first. Like it was more of like her as a person and what she was going through in that, as opposed to like being the parent to this daughter who's
Yeah.
had the situation, you know? It's like almost like first, are you okay type of thing. Now I'm gonna kill you. You know what I mean? Like I would have
Right.
liked to see some of that balance in there. But you know, it is what it is. It's that situation. But Justin goes to Overlook, you know, with her and helps her process that because it's a big moment of like being disappointed by what you thought could possibly be. Like you thought she thought the worst thing was her mom's disappointment, but it's actually new pain, you know, about how her mom
Yeah.
is taking this. So yeah. But they eventually get through it, you know, and they talk and you know, there is a little bit like she, you know, goes to her cousins, but then as she's out with her cousin and she's like at the hair salon, that's where Justin meets Rodney, who is making beats, and you know, kind of gives a connection towards the end of the story about how where Justin sees his future going, and so that was an important meet there. And then ultimately, of course, Justin's mom has a conversation with Keisha's mom. And so overall, there's a lot of things that go on in that episode. Episode 6 is a meaty episode, but I think those are kind of the highlights, you know?
So yeah, we're at episode 7, and this is when we get introduced to Keisha's dad, right? It's her party, her congratulations party. She gets into Howard. We find out Justin gets into Northwestern, right? So they're starting to think about the future. How is this going to impact the relationship? Let's talk about the dad though. Like this is the first time we're getting to, meet Keisha's dad. What did you all think of him?
He's a lot. He's a lot. And I know we talked
Yeah.
about him earlier a little bit. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, he came in with a very big presence, which I think probably is on point for dads who may not be as around as they want to be, right? Or they could be. And so they overcompensate with having this very large presence and still stating, trying to affirm themselves as I'm the daddy, I'm the pappy, and I'm here. Um, so yeah, I thought his introduction was interesting, but very on point again without it being like he's a deadbeat.
Mm-hmm.
It gave us like the adjacent deadbeat adjacent
Hey,
story.
yeah, but then you can also see like when he has that conversation with Keisha about Justin being lost. Like you can also see
Mm-hmm.
that they have a good like afterwards they have a good
Yeah,
relationship. And I think we spoke about that somewhat in the beginning. They have this good relationship. Like the moment at the party, because that's I think with him and Justin, I was like, that was a very interesting moment to me. And I was like,
yeah,
it was like what is your goal here? Because it's like he took the being a tough dad to the 10th degree. But I think overall, like maybe he was trying to feel him out. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not maybe he was. You know, he was trying to feel him out, and he gleaned some information from that. And I think that's it. Also, is another moment that shows us why dads are so important because that perspective that he gave, like it was tripped out how he got it, but that was very accurate. And I hadn't even as a viewer really seen that until he said it. And I was like, you know what? This is like he is making Keisha his whole world. And it's like it's like that could end in a lot of different ways for her, like pregnancy in any kind of way. And so I think it's necessary to have those black dads around. And then taking it a generation further, necessary to have the granddaddy black dad to check the other black dad when he's like, stepping out of line. Because when he came in and he shut it down, I was like, there you go. That's what you got to have multi-generational, black men and black women, of course, but we're always there. You know what I'm saying? They need to be, take their throne like Simba, take your rightful place.
Right. And I
Okay.
also feel like Keisha's dad like could see a bit of himself in Justin, right? Like he
hmm
had been through that experience, somewhat still going through that experience, right? And I think he, could see a little bit of himself in there, and he was trying to just let his daughter know, hey, this is what's going on here. You don't see it, but
Mm-hmm.
I see it because I've been there and I've done it. And so that was a really good scene, especially since he was trying to like, I feel like it was like all the moments of all the guys that Keisha could have ever dated that he wasn't there for. He was just kind of like then doing it, like harnessing it into that one moment with Justin. And I was like, all right, it's enough.
Yeah.
Relax.
Yeah.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. It was definitely given like I'm trying to prove something in this moment. It was a lot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even when his dad came in, when George came in to shut it down, they had their exchange about his future and how things played out for him. So definitely was like I think a reflection of again, I'm here, I'm the pappy, but also too like this was me and I didn't have the direction or the guidance that I wanted. So let me try and get it out of this dude who's dating my daughter.
Let me show up for all the moments that I'm not here. Let me be present, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
Before we go
yeah.
into episode 8, I did want to highlight the Christmas scene, which I thought was just so beautiful. It's
Mhm.
very rare that I feel
Yeah.
like we get to see like beautiful scenes of like black families coming together, doing the thing. Like, I don't know, I loved it. The whole outfit that Don had on, them playing the water guns,
Yes.
like all of it was just
Mhm.
so wholesome. And
Mhm.
I don't know, I with also so many bits of culture, right? And we just don't get to see that. It's like you get culture and you
Mhm.
get some like bad stereotype or like you get to see the white family kind of doing this type of thing. And so it's like actually that narrative isn't just for whites, it's for everybody, right? Black people can have these
Mhm.
experiences and do have these
Mhm.
experiences. And I loved the
Mhm.
Christmas scene. It was nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very pretty. Yeah, that was nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Black people at play. It's nice to
Right.
see it.
And then after, was it the next morning when they were in the pool?
No, it was
No,
that day.
no, they everybody left to go. It was still at the party. I was at first I
Oh,
thought, I was like, "Have we skipped the summer?" Like, but I was like, "Oh,
yeah.
they're in LA. They're in LA."
Yes, yes.
But yeah, it was that moment, and he tried to, I could pull out, like, bruh, you couldn't even put it in at first. Like, you think I'm gonna trust you,
Yes.
bruh?
Right, 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 right,
Own
right.
it.
But I think that talk that she had with her dad protected her in that moment
Yeah.
because she was probably thinking, my daddy just told me this is how my mama got pregnant. So we ain't doing that. And she hit her, she was like, no, you are clinging on to me. You're doing too much. This is too much. I gotta go.
But even before that scene, like where the dad told him that when he was walking, she was walking in on the phone. He was like, where he was being a little insecure or something about. It. He said, "Is this it? Your
Yeah,
house?"
he said something like your Howard Boo or something like that.
And that
Yeah.
dad was like, that man is clingy or whatever. And I was like, yeah, there's something here as far as that's why I say it's like a more of a come of age story for Justin, I think, as it goes on. But I was like, there's something here that Justin needs to figure out because otherwise he is going to like he's gonna like not be his best self,
Yeah.
And so that's why I kind of like, not to transition us into like the end, but I kind of supported the separation, but then I also was just like, well, you don't gotta separate. You could like, but I understood that there was something there that needed to be developed. But I was like, he doesn't have to do it on his own, but I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
Well, I
torn.
thought it was very noble. And that was the second time Justin did that. He did it the first time when he was like, you know what? You have a lot going on. And so let's just go ahead and dead this right here because I don't want to be second place to Christian and like this whole facade that you have to keep up. And
Mhm.
now I need to be off on my own and make decisions for myself. Thank you so much for being that anchor for me. But I got to
Mm-hmm.
figure it out because everything that I'm thinking of next, every new idea I'm having, it's with you in it
Mhm.
and I'm not getting that same reaction from you. So I thought it
Mhm.
was really noble of him. Sometimes loving somebody is also learning when to let them go or when you having to separate yourself so that you can have that development that you need.
No,
Mm-hmm.
I totally
Yeah.
agree. That's why I'm like, I supported it, but I also was like, does it have to be? Because
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure that there is one way to do it. Actually, I'm sure there's not one way to do it. That's what I'm sure of. Like resolve this situation that he finds himself in. But I think that the way he chose is a way, and is a
Yeah.
valid way.
Yeah, I wish many people would go on this journey earlier so we're not met with it in 30s and 40s. Okay, you can cut that part out.
Mm.
Right.
That's funny.
No, but that's real though. Like imagine if it was more encouraged for us to do this as you are coming out of high school or like at that age. Just like I mean, even my
Yeah.
own self, like if I did something like that, to just think about like what could happen for me if I just focused on myself a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah, I probably would be, I would have developed in different ways a lot quicker or got into places without having to experience so much like heartache and pain in
Mhm.
certain areas of my life. So I think it was nice to show that it can happen. You can get there. And as you are going to college, you don't just have to go to college because your parents say so, like it's
Yeah.
important to figure out what it is that you want to do and to
Mhm.
become the person that you want to be. So,
Yeah, I to jump back a little bit to the Northwestern decision because we talked about it briefly, but we didn't really dive into it and just kind of where his storyline goes with this. I think that like for a lot of people, unless you're like a person really determined, which I think he started to move into that path. I do think college. I'm one of those who's like, go find yourself in college because like some people don't like. It just becomes a path for like your life not moving because what do they say, masters and like graduate school is the new college now. You know what I'm saying? Like college is the new high school diploma. Like these jobs are just requiring more and more and more. And so, but when he got that Northwestern decision, I was like, oh, this is interesting. It sort of reminded me like when I got into law school, it's like I wasn't like, I gotta be a lawyer, but it was just like you feel accomplished or you feel like proud that like, oh my God, I got in and I'm gonna go now. Like, and so I could see him doing that sort of thing. But in this episode where he visits Northwestern and he's kind of woken back up, like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be around these people. You start to see a little bit more clarity in him. And,
mhm.
but then it's like aimless. It's just like, I know this isn't right, but it's like, Howard, where's, what else? I wonder why they didn't explore the Berkeley and the NYU School of Music route because I know two people who literally went that route. That was their college experience, and they're very well respected schools. Like they talked about it, but he never applied to them. I was like, "What's
Yeah, maybe they'll do it in season 2 since he's taking the gap year.
yeah?" Because
Gap year.
they're
Yeah.
literally colleges, but they're dedicated to musicians. They're who
Yeah.
and both of the people who I know who went to those schools are musicians today. They're musicians, and they so
Well,
um
I also
I think
think
I'm
that
gonna look into
didn't that part never got to really like develop because he waited so late to tell his parents. I think had he come a little sooner and expressed, actually, I want to do
Mhm.
music, these are some schools, then like him and his mom could have really been like, okay, let's look into this. What is it looking like? And he waited so late in the game to like say, this isn't my path. So, but like you were saying,
Mhm.
Victoria, maybe in the second season, we'll see that happen.
Yeah. Yeah, because he did say
Yeah.
he needed to get his portfolio together. So I guess his portfolio is for the school. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's going about it in such a mature way. He was like, "Yeah, I got a job so I can fund,
mhm.
getting this certificate myself." Yeah,
Yeah.
I enjoy watching Justin develop. I say, you know
Mhm.
what? That's a good brother right
I
there.
know,
That's a good
nice
little
young
brother.
man. Yeah, I
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
agree. I like his character, and I like that it's such a popular show that, I think everyone who's watching it is like, "Oh my God, it's so great." I love that this popular show is showcasing a guy like that. I think that's important.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I
Uh,
would encourage more guys to go ahead and watch that show.
mhm,
I also too, just a little side note, but something that's really nice about this, like I was saying in the beginning, like like just seeing Dawn's character, right? It was a reflection for me of like, how do I want to show up as a mother? Because
mhm,
when I think about the different situations that Justin was in, I, from the outside, would probably react the way Dawn did. But it was nice to just, I don't know, kind of see this from an outside perspective so that you can like kind of walk through like how would you react as a mother or like a sister in this situation. So yeah,
Mhm.
I think even this is a good show for guys to watch, like how would you show up as a father,
mhm,
if this
Yeah.
was your son in these types of situations. So it was
mhm.
it's a
Yeah.
great show.
it
Yeah.
was so authentic. All facets of the Black family, Black experience were in there. Like
Mm-hmm.
nothing wasn't in there. Maybe a little bit like the homegirl experience because she had like a white best friend, so they captured that homegirl experience. But like maybe, and then I guess she had the folks on the track team, but they were not her friends at first. Then they became her friends. So I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thing
Yeah.
I maybe didn't see as much as like that experience, but that's for season two when she goes to Howard because she's showing up gonna have her some, a girl crew at Howard. So I'm excited for season two and glad that it got renewed. Um, is there anything that we haven't talked about or haven't touched on that folks want to touch on? And or do you have any thoughts about where you'd like to see season two go?
I mean, I know you all said at the beginning that you wanted it to pick right back up there, but I wanted to skip forward a little bit. I'm ready for college age Keisha and Justin. I want Justin to come down from NYU for Howard homecoming. I want them to see each other and it to be almost like the moment of at the party when they lock eyes. I'm ready for that moment, right? Because maybe this could be like junior year, right? Like it doesn't have to be
Mhm.
freshman, sophomore. Maybe like junior year. There's been some development. There's been some maturity. They've maybe had some other like boyfriend, girlfriends, whatever, and now
Mhm.
it's like, oh, Justin, Keisha. That's what I'm hoping.
No, that's
That would
real.
be cute too. I'm not mad at that. I'm not
I'm
mad
not
at
mad at that
that.
either. Like they need you in the writers' room because like
Yeah.
that could set us up for like building this romance back up because it's like four
Mm-hmm.
years or 3 years, I guess that would be, is not a short amount of time. You've done different things and you've been with different
Mm-hmm.
people, and you've had this opportunity to miss the person or and so it can build back
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
up the love story. It's not going to just be like, all right, we're still seeing each other. It's gonna have to
Right.
build back up.
Yeah.
And so that'll be fun to
Yeah.
watch. But anyhow,
Yeah.
we'll see. But I'm just excited that they have a season two. I think that's great. Just really great.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah. So is that all, ladies? Well,
yeah.
until the next one. We are Black Girls Talking TV. If you're not already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you can stay tuned to all of our recaps. We have Jenny and Georgia coming. We have what is it? Big Brother coming. So many good shows that are about to start back up. So stay tuned. Hit that follow button. Find us on TikTok and Instagram at Black Girls Talking TV.
All right. Bye,
Bye.
guys.